Hello my magical light beings, and welcome out to this video today. My name is Shalita. Welcome to this channel. This channel is all about magical consciousness, and currently we are in magical consciousness manifested in forest. The smell of pine trees is just magnificent. Like, these trees smell so sweet. It's just whoa. Exactly 1 year ago I made my first ever YouTube video, and it's so crazy that's 1 year later. And it's so cool because in this video, by the title, you could see what's about, you know, about my spiritual awakening. And in this one I will be talking about seeing the unseen and visits from spirit visits. And 1 year ago when I started my YouTube channel, it was as well with intention to share about my own spiritual journey, my spiritual awakening, what I you know, all I've been through. And still, of course, as you know, from the moment you spiritually awaken, it will be with you till you die. You know. And so 1 year ago I wanted to start that and share, but I never knew how, and some parts of me were still a little bit afraid of sharing these things. And you know, gaining throughout this year a little bit more confidence in regards to my spiritual gifts and just spirituality in general, and as well to really see for myself what I actually went through. You know, sometimes we really have to observe ourselves, what we actually went through and what it all meant for us. And you know, with these things that I'm going to share, that's the fun thing of this, that we all go through maybe similar things. That's why I want to share it. It's like, I know there are people out there that have experienced similar things, or maybe right now are going through just the beginning of their spiritual awakening, and it's so powerful to then, you know, share what you know, because that will really as well help others out, as that helped me out, that I watch videos of others sharing their experiences. But to say, to always use your own discernment with what I'm sharing. These things that I will be sharing are from my personal experience, how I personally resonated with that. And you know, it's kind of personal truth in a sense, so you know, if it does not resonate, then it does not resonate. But this is for those who maybe have an open mind to listen to what I experienced. So these will be kind of a series of videos whenever they want to come true, of course. In this video I will start at the very beginning of my spiritual awakening journey, and I already shared a lot about my dark night of the soul. I have an audio about that, and this was after that moment that I'm going to talk about today, as we're going to talk about kind of the astral plane, 4D timeline, and seeing the unseen, spirit visits. And what better place to do that as in the forest. As you know, we need a lot of grounding with that. We really have to be centered and grounded if we're going to do that. And that was what I experienced. I was not. After my dark night, whoa. So this experience that I'm going to talk about was very shortly after my dark night of the soul. That was in 2018, and where I had this moment of direct connection with the divine source for just a brief moment, unconditional love, where I awakened, where I felt that, and I knew there was something more and that it was not the end. And after that experience, I did not know anything about spirituality. I did not know anything about the astral plane. I did not know anything about chakra systems either. That came later on, actually, that year, or 2019. To say that time does not matter, because it's all happening right now, you know. As throughout the year of 2018 I was still pretty depressed, even after that moment of connection with the divine, because of energies that I'm going to go into in this video. And then at the end of 2018, when I watched the movie The Secret, I really awakened even more. And from that point on, something happened in my reality that I did not know what that meant, but it happened out of nowhere. Of course, divine. This is what we have in our spiritual journeys, our spiritual awakenings, is that we will be having these significant experiences that will learn us something, or will show us something, or yeah, will just be of benefit to our knowledge about life. Me, unaware of, I always knew that, because of course we learn about ghosts, when we were younger, and to be so afraid of them, and you know, the programming of that the spirit world is crazy and stuff like that. That I always had some sort of knowing that of course there was more than this earthly plane, but I never saw that. I had some sort of sense, not very strongly though, but kind of knew as I had when I was younger, very young. I think I was like 7 or something. I had these moments where I heard animals in my room while they were not there. So I kind of have had experience already before with this. It's one of the psychic abilities, I feel like, with hearing, that you can hear the spirit world. So from that point on, never experienced anything like this ever again. And then at the end of 2018, beginning of 2019, when I went to bed one night, there was this experience where I closed my eyes and all of a sudden I heard this woman, and she was asking me, and she was kind of almost screaming my name, and she was saying that she needed help. I opened my eyes with like the most fear in my life, because I was like, oh my god, is there somebody in my room right now? But I opened my eyes and I saw nothing. So I was like, okay, this is terrifying. I put my hands on my ears and closed my eyes again in my bed. Totally terrified. Like, you know, such an experience is pretty terrifying if you've never experienced it before, of course. And so I closed my eyes, and then I heard her again, and even in the middle of the night again. And so this experience happened multiple times for me in 2 months, I guess. Yeah, in 2 months it happened more often as well, that I heard voices of languages that I could not even understand. The only thing I could understand is when they said my name, and then the rest was all just like, I don't know what it was. But a lot of them talked English, and I could hear what they were saying. They were all saying the same thing, that they needed help. And this was the moment where I was like, what the actual freak is happening right now? I'm like terrified at nighttime. This is very scary. In the middle of the night I would wake up, hear these voices, and you know, in the middle of the night when it's dark, we have been programmed that in the darkness, you know, that's where scary things can happen. So of course, you know, my programming in that moment went totally wild, and my ego started to freak out because this was a very crazy experience, you know. And then I was like, I need to do research on this. What the heck is this? So I did research, and I came to the side that said that, you know, there are spirits in the spirit world, in the 4D timeline, the astral plane, that are stuck there, and they want, you know, to cross over. They want to get out of that, to go to a different dimension, or however you want to call that. Like, I'm not the expert on this. It's the only thing I know about it. I can learn way more about this. I was experiencing visits of spirits, and I never had that. But what I did not know, and I only learned this literally 1 year later, that I had a third eye awakening in that moment that I was not aware of. That my third eye just opened, and my psychic ability of hearing opened in that moment. As I have more, but in that moment only that one really opened. And so that was the first thing that I experienced after my spiritual awakening, that I was like, where are these sounds coming from? What is happening, you know? I just said, like, I don't want this, and then it did not happen for a few nights anymore. And then there was this one night where, I guess one of the most terrifying things ever happened in my entire life, is that in the middle of the night I opened up my eyes, and next to my bed was this being standing there, totally black. It was giving off the most horrifying energy. I did not know anything about energies in that moment, and I just turned around, closed my eyes. I was like, I hope it goes away. This is the most scary thing ever. And then when I woke up the next morning, like, you know, I was like, whoa, what the actual freak? And then I started to do research to it, and they were saying about that, you know, if your third eye awakens and you're not grounded, first of all, you know, a lot of fearful stuff can come up, and a lot of fearful energies then, you know, start to as well grow in that, because if you get afraid, they come to that, you know what I mean? And then I read this post that said that you can set boundaries of what you want, what you don't want, if you want to you know, grow your spiritual gifts and stuff like that. In that moment, I just set the boundary of that I wanted nothing, actually. I wanted to experience nothing anymore, and then for a long time didn't experience anymore. Only after my starseed remembrance, I started to see once again different things that, you know, for us are unseen, and they became seen to me. But I will talk about it in a different video. In this one, I wanted to go deeper in what I just shared. Wow. See that? Look at that. Wow. See this one? Third eye. Oh, you know what I want to share in this video about this whole experience that I had just after actually knowing quite nothing about the spiritual realm, the spirit world, anything of this matter. This experience was so beneficial for me. It helped me out so much. First of all, is because of the importance of setting clear boundaries energetically. And it's just with words. You can literally say, I don't want this. That's enough. It's really the free will that we have to say no to anything that is not in alignment with us. Not to say that these spirits that were coming to me, you know, that were asking me for help, were you know, not coming from a good place. I was just not able to do that, you know. And then you just have to set that boundary. You don't have to feel guilty or anything of that matter, you know. Second of all, I'm sitting with this tree right now, very grounding. Second of all, I learned through this experience why I was so depressed. And you know, this is not for everybody, but this is what I experienced, what I learned, is that, you know, if we are depressed, we are circling in limiting belief systems, in negative thought patterns. And with that, if we are in that a long time, that can cause a lot of fear and suffering. Then we will be attracting, our energy attracts, we will be attracting physical manifestations of this energy. As I said that night when I saw that being, I knew that that was kind of an attachment that was attached to me, and kind of almost physical manifestation that was not physical, but it showed itself in this 3D world, that I could see that mirror of apparently that being was in my space, my energy space. And with that moment, I knew that these energies were attached to my limiting belief stories, my negative thought patterns. I don't know what I'm hearing in the distance, but it sounds crazy. From that point on, because I saw it and I saw how that made me feel, and when I started to do research to how to cut this off, how to cut these energies away from me, as they started, of course, within me, my own mind, my own thought patterns, from that moment on, I really made such a huge shift in my spiritual awakening in regards to coming out of depression into a way more positive state of being. And of course it takes practice, and it takes work, and to let go of, you know, your thought patterns and your shadows, because they kind of were showing me, you know, a shadow being showing itself to you that really brings you so much fear, and it's kind of horrifying energy. Like, it was just like this energy of someone wanting to kill you. If you see that, and that's what I experienced in my brain, that I had those thoughts of dying, of all of that, and then, you know, that showed itself, manifested. And of course we can have entities attached to us, and that's what I had in that moment too. I believe that, but that only starts because of what we personally think of and what we you know, what we have really repeated for a long time, as I've repeated these thought patterns for a very long time, that I had this third eye awakening. My soul decided upon that for me to really see this moment of awareness, that I could see that this is what I had as attachments to me. And I know it was not only one but multiple, and I had to do the work to cut this off, to work on myself, and to know that these voices that I was hearing, because I was hearing even voices of these energies, that was not my voice, that was not me. Those were feeding into the thoughts I already had that were negative, and they were feeding on that even more. And that's not to terrify anybody, it's not to scare anybody, because the point is, they don't have any power over us. Actually, they only can put some sort of influence into us, but they can never take us over, because, you know, as a soul we have the free will to say no, this is not what I want. And that's what I had to learn. I was in the most depressed state in that time, so I saw really very dark things, and I experienced very heavy dreams too in the nighttime, where I don't know how this is called again. How do you call these dreams where you feel like you're stuck to the bed and you cannot, you know, get yourself out, and then maybe there is this being in your room that tries to get you, and all of that is what I experienced. And all those experiences really showed me that how real they seemed. They were the spirit world. They were not physically in this 3D world. And of course we can see that there are in this world physical manifestations of these energies. We know about physical manifestation, it takes a lot of time, and but eventually you can actually physically manifest these things, and we see that on this planet too, that there are real physical manifestations of these things. But, you know, these energies that were around me of such low vibration, low frequency, you know, it almost felt like, okay, so how can you say this? It's soulless. Why? You know, they can say that there are beings that don't have a soul. Why is this? Because these beings are actually not, how can you say this? They're not spirits in regards to that they have a soul as spirits, because spirits kind of, you could say, are souls, but these beings are manifestations of thought patterns. So they don't even come from the true essence, they come from minds, they come as manifestations of thought patterns and negative cycles that we repeat and then slowly start to energetically manifest. So, you know, that's what I experienced. They were soulless because they were never coming from the true essence, as I feel like they're really stuck here on this planet too, and maybe in the 4D timeline as well. But this is very different for everybody. Everybody would probably say this is, you know, in a different way, but I feel like this is, for me, how I see it, that they can only work through the 4D and not further than that, because, you know, from that point on, it's truth. And they are not the truth. They're not true. They are actually created. And the 4D timeline is our minds. It's, you know, it's the creations of thoughts. And that's what I had to see. And this is really important for me as well in my journey, that I learned that energies and entities, that some entities that we experience on this planet, you know, they're not real. They seem real and they have manifested itself into realness, but the more we realize and work on ourselves in regards to positive mindsets, tuning in with love and our soul, the less power they will have, because the more light will come to the earth, as they are shadow beings. So, you know, the more light comes to the planet, the more they will dissolve, and at some point they will not be existing anymore, because they only exist in the shadow. And that's what I had to learn from that moment, and that took a long time to really understand that and see it that way, and to forgive as well, because, you know, these beings, I blame them upon how I felt, that I felt so awful. But it all started within my own mind too, you know, and I actually, as a soul, decided upon, this is what I personally believe, I decided as a soul to experience that, to awaken, because it literally caused me to awaken in that moment. And then, you know, seeing the unseen. So if you are curious to the spirit world, to the unseen, you know, to the unseen to our physical eyes, but seen to the third eye, to always set clear boundaries, to do your research, to master and practice your intuition, to see how it makes you feel when you have a certain being visit you, because we know that, you know, we know the vibes. That's the third eye. The third eye is the sense of, you know, the vibes, you feel it, you sense it with your third eye. And that's what I experienced very early on, that I could sense it, the knowing. It was like, you know what, it was sending to me, that my third eye was like, yeah, this is fear, or yeah, this is coming from love, or you know what I mean. And for example, those spirit visits, in that moment I knew that in some sort of way I was in a lot of fear, but they were pretty indeed feared too. But that could actually be helpful, because, you know, those beings then could receive the guidance, but only from those that are mastered and practiced in helping them cross over, for example. And I am not, so I would never do that, because you know, that can cause as well soul contracts and create certain lines with souls that you maybe don't want as a soul. So yeah. But there are a lot of things, and we, you know, we keep it very simple. We want to keep things very simple, and the simplicity of this is to ground yourself as much as you can, to feel so safe in your body, to feel really grounded and secure, kind of working on your inner masculine in a sense, to feel that you are protected within yourself, because you are like secure and strong. And then the second part is where you can really set those clear boundaries and say no, and to really get to know what you want and what you don't want. And so if you're going through that right now, to no, that's what I learned. And you can still do your own research too, because we will all learn probably the things we need to learn for our journey. And that's very important with this, you know, that we learn exactly what we need to learn for our personal journey, as our personal journeys are so different from each other. You know, they maybe can have similarities, as I said, but they will all look very different, because we all have these unique paths to walk on this planet. And yeah, that was the story for today. I don't know what the story will be next, but we will see on a series of these spiritual awakening stories. And you know, these are meant to share the experience. This is what I learned with it, as this is what I learned with this experience, as that was very helpful on my journey already, very important too. That was a very important key to learn at the very beginning of my journey. So if you want to like, subscribe to the channel, that would be so great. Thank you so much for tuning in today, for listening. And there's no need to fear. There's no need to fear, as love is always here. So thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.